Good morning, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR. Good morning, other senior officials of the Nigerian Police. Good morning, Chairman, Presidential Communications Team, and good morning, my colleagues, distinguished members of the press. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this 66th edition of this briefings coordinated by the Presidential Communications Team. And today, we're very happy to have in our midst the IGP. We are not unaware of the times we are in. Elections are around the corner, and the IG is on top of situation around us. Briefly, let me inform us that one of the key agenda of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration is the enhancement of security for all Nigerians. And the key component of this security architecture, as we know, is the Nigerian police force. The President, therefore, in furtherance of this, set about reforming the Nigerian police through equipping, recruitment, and improvement of their welfare. The President has also often reiterated his commitment towards bequeathing a credible electoral system for Nigeria. On Monday, February 13, the President commissioned some critical operational assets of the Nigerian police as part of his broad plans of adequately and appropriately equipping the Nigerian police force towards guaranteeing a stable internal security order and in placing peaceful, secure, and credible 2023 general elections. According to the President at that event, I recall vividly, the President said, and I quote, "We are running a democratic system which is guided by the rule of law, and the police worldwide is recognized as the most symbolic agency within the democratic governance and rule of law process." Continuing, the President said, "Therefore, any nation that is desirous of deepening our democratic credentials and advancing the cause of the rule of law must prioritize the efficiency of our police institutions." Quotations closed. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, CFR, who is now spearheading these reforms orchestrated by the President, also on Friday, February 10, briefed the Council of State about his Operation Order and Action Plan for the 2023 general elections. This morning, the IGP is here and is going to talk to us on the plans, the processes, and the readiness of the Nigerian police to ensure a peaceful and secure atmosphere, peaceful and secure election atmosphere across the nation, pre, during, and after. On this note, I would like to invite the IGP to further speak with us about how on top of the situation he is. Quickly, especially before the IG comes, let me also remind us that IG has other things to do. Not that this one is not very important, it is very important, but when you are going to ask the questions, let's just restrict the questions to, let's make it as manageable as before, as possible. You will not be here for more than 1 hour. IG, please. Thank you.
The Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on Media, Alhaji Garba Shehu, the retired AIG, who is also championing the police reform in the office of Chief of Staff, my sister on the high table, senior officers from the post headquarters that are members of my entourage, the DIG Federal Operations, the AIG Federal Operations, and the AIG Counter-Terrorism Unit, members of the press, good morning. I'm here to brief you on the state of preparedness of the Nigerian Police Force for the 2023 general elections. You are all aware we are counting days for the 2023 general election to commence, particularly the presidential and the national elections to elect the Senate and the House of Representatives will come up on the 25th of February, and that of the governors and the State House of Assembly on the 11th March. The Nigerian Police is galvanizing as well as state government officials, traditional institutions, all in an effort to attain or disrupt the 2023 general election. We also have these growing misguided activities of the Oduduwa Nation agitators who from intelligence sources are also, of late, are attempting to also stabilize. We have this issue of illegal small arms and light weapons trafficking, which are being used to bring cyberbullying, kidnapping, and other things. So generally, the situation as it is, against this background, the focus of the force has been to upscale our operational activities to stabilize these situations in order to ensure that the election takes place. Preparations of the Nigerian Police Force. We have in place certain strategic, operational, and tactical measures to achieve a peaceful electioneering atmosphere in Nigeria under the following broad layout. 1. Principles underlying the election security plans by the Nigerian Police. The perfection of our election security governance action plan is guided by two key principles. First is to police the election adversaries, comprising of criminal elements, misguided political elements that are or could pose political threats to the process. The second is to police peace-loving citizens in a manner that will give them the confidence in the democratic system and encourage them to come out and exercise their franchise freely and without molestation. So these are the two poles security provision that we intend to do. Scope of NPF election operation security. Our deployments have been planned to cover the air through the Police Air Wing, who will be closely supported by the Nigerian Air Force, the inland waterways and riverine areas by the Nigerian Forest Marine in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy, and the land by special units, conventional and other forces, both from the police and all other security agencies, including the military. National Election Security Threats Analysis. In aid of our efficient and informed human operational and logistic deployment plan, we have undertaken an election security threat analysis, which identifies and prioritizes possible threats to the electoral process in terms of location and specific personalities and groups across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. The force is also leveraging on the outcome of similar exercise undertaken and shared with us by the Department of State Services and civil society organizations, particularly Clean Foundation. The operational plan of the force is a product of these initiatives. Deployment coverage. From INET records, there exist 176,846 polling units in 8,809 wards of the 36 states of the Federation and FCT, where the elections will be conducted. The Nigerian Police, with support of other security agencies, have perfected plans to deploy in a coordinated and collaborative manner to cover all these locations. The deployment will cover the National Collation Center in Abuja, as well as other collation centers across the states of the Federation, the FCT, and the 774 local government areas of the Federation. In view of the above, the Nigerian Police will deploy 310,973 personnel for the election security operations. This will comprise of conventional policemen, the mobile policemen, the Special Counter-Terrorism Unit, the Special Forces, Intelligence Response Team, and other sections of the police. The manpower requirement for this exercise will be complemented by the military and other security agencies. In this regard, aside the military and the DSS, other security agencies that will contribute a total of 93,495 personnel for the election security operations. These include the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense, who will deploy through the police 151,000 personnel, the Federal Road Safety Corps 21,000, the Nigerian Correctional Service 11,336, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency 9,447, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission 350, totaling 404,106 to police the election. With this layout, a minimum of at least two personnel drawn from the above agencies will be jointly deployed to man each of the polling units across the country, while the armed personnel will secure the public space, INEC facilities, vulnerable locations, border areas, as well as undertake armed escort duties for INEC personnel, materials, and local and international observers. We also expect the military to complement this situation by providing armed protection to critical national assets, ensure that the enforcement of movement are curtailed through the blocking of inland ways, exit points and entry points to various states, local governments, and so forth. For the purpose of effective command and control, the Deputy Inspector Generals of Police, who are to be deployed to coordinate the operation in the 6 geopolitical zones, while Commissioners of Police are to be deployed to supervise elections at senatorial zones across the country to complement the Command Commissioners of Police efforts. Election security focus. The election security goal is designed to secure the space as follows. 1. Deployment of armed personnel to secure all INEC facilities. The military and other security agencies will complement police in this regard. 2. Armed escort, like I said earlier, for INEC officials and electoral materials, from the airports to storage facilities and their distribution to registration centers called RAC and polling units across the states. Deployment of tactical units operatives drawn from the Special Forces, the Police Mobile Force, the Counter-Terrorism Unit, the IRT, TIU, and STS to some clash points in the country at least a week before, to intensify clearance operation to ensure conducive atmosphere for the conduct of the election. Security of local and foreign observers, provision of inter and interstate border and transnational borders, enhance special patrol of the public space across the country to ensure that adverse elements do not take advantage of the electoral period to threaten internal security in any form. Enhance policing of the riverine areas and creeks. Air surveillance with the aid of police helicopters and specialized drones. Deployment of our marine and air assets to support INEC in personnel and material movements. operational and logistics supports. With regards to logistics mobilization and deployment, the Nigerian Police Force will pool and deploy the following assets: 74 armored personnel carriers, 37 water cannons, 200 gun trucks, 1,240 patrol vehicles, 50 troop patrol carriers, 50 ambulances, 60 buses, 300 motorcycles, motorized crowd control equipment, helicopters, 9 unarmed aerial patrol vehicles, drones for mission-specific areas, surveillance and support, and 75 gun trucks in the riverine area. Others include the EOD and K9 and mounted troop assets. These are to complement logistics and operational assets that are currently on charge to the 36 states and commands of the FCT, and they include the operational assets that were most recently acquired and commissioned by Mr. President. Tailor model election security training and capacity building programs. In order to sharpen the operational and professional knowledge of police personnel and other security agencies to be deployed to the 2023 general elections, we have organized a series of trainings on election security management. This includes election security management workshop, which were extended to the military, DSS, and all other law enforcement agencies by the police. The training, which was based on knowledge transfer framework, was held across the 6 geopolitical zones earlier. 2. Tactical electoral security operations held for police operations officers across the country to enhance their capacity to evaluate and manage any electoral crisis in the best global policing tradition. Police Mobile Commanders operational training course for 79 squadron commanders across the countries have been undertaken to sharpen the capacity for our special security and electoral violence operations. Election security management training organized for police personnel with the aid of the Embassy of the United States of America has also taken place, and it has assisted us greatly in educating our officers in election security management. Election security management was also attended by the Nigerian Police and other security agents, which was also organized at the instance of INEC. A one-day National Women and Youth Summit on Peaceful Election Security organized in conjunction with the Police Community Relations Committee for the training of police personnel. The training, which was themed ensuring secured and safe atmosphere for women and children during election, was geared towards enhancing the knowledge of police personnel to manage gender-based electoral violence and vulnerable persons in electoral process has just been concluded. Strategic engagements of security agencies and the police. In order to strengthen our interagency synergy towards the delivery of our election security mandate, we have been involved in a series of strategic engagements with the military, INEC, and other sister security agencies. Such engagements include: 1. Meeting with INEC leadership and executives of the 18 registered political parties, which was held at my instance at the post headquarters Abuja. The meeting discussed critical concerns as they relate to security of the processes. It had in attendance head of representatives of the Office of the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defense Staff, DSS, NIA, and other security agencies. Series of similar strategic engagements were routinely held with INEC leadership under the auspices of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. We've been discussing issues, how we can collectively police this election. Conference and retreats, which was held in Owerri, Imo State, for all strategic police commanders from the rank of commissioners of police and above across the Federation to deliberate and perfect the election security operation order and action plan, highlights their roles and expose them to best standards in election security operations leadership. The event was personally declared open by Mr. President. Strategic election security operational meeting was also held with heads of operations of the three arms of the military, the police, DSS, and all other security agencies with a view to harmonizing our operational plans for the exercise. Strategic meeting held under the auspices of the Chief of Defense Staff towards perfecting election security plans and related internal security operations ahead of the exercise. Series of engagement with civil society organizations, United Nations agencies, and foreign missions on election security framework and the role of observer status. Establishment of special coordination and investigation unit. For the purpose of ensuring effective election security monitoring and professional handling of electoral offenses on offenders, the force has inaugurated the following special units. Election monitoring team, which was composed to monitor the election space and the performance of police personnel deployed across the country with a view to ensuring conformity of professional standards and offering feedback from the field to the force leadership for proactive actions towards strengthening the attainment of our election security goals. The team is headed by a senior officer in the force headquarters. Electoral Offenses Investigation Unit. The unit is headed by an Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of state criminal investigation departments across all the states of the Federation, and a desk at the Force Headquarters Criminal Investigation Department, Abuja. This unit is charged with the responsibility of undertaking the conclusive investigation of all electoral offenses recorded during the 2023 general election and the liaison with the legal department of INEC towards the prosecution of such offenders in line with the 2022 Electoral Act as amended. Special election intelligence deployment. As part of efforts to address the menace of both selling and vote buying, a special intelligence unit of the force has been constituted to clandestinely monitor the trend and work with EFCC, ICPC, and INEC in identifying the network that may be involved in this illegality and apprehend them as where possible. In addition, the unique technical intelligence asset of the force are also being deployed towards identifying adverse elements that may be planning to disrupt the process. Through this initiative, such elements will be identified, real-time, geolocated, isolated, and arrested and brought to justice. The force is deploying strategic communication tools with the intent to positively influencing the public narrative towards endangering democratic practices, peace, and security ahead of the elections. In this regard, the services of the media consultant has been retained, and the Force Public Relations Department is currently coordinating with them to push some jingles and other programs into the public space for this purpose. The role of the National Cybercrime Center. In view of the digitalization of the elections and our recognition of the need for a coordinated forensic management and monitoring of the process, the Nigerian Police Force has, through the NPF National Cybercrime Center, established a mobile forensic laboratory and the Security Operations Center to monitor cyber threats in real time and conduct social media analysis of key and non-key players in the electoral process. The center also has capacity to analyze recovered electronic and computer-related pieces of evidence to support the electoral process. In this regard, some operatives from the center will be deployed to other parts of the country, and their activities will be centrally coordinated from the election security functions by the police, the military, and all other security agencies, all of whom will send the representatives for the center at the national and state levels. Deployment of Interpol tools. The Interpol tools have also been activated at the NCB, Nigeria Force Headquarters, Abuja, with a view to monitoring the global security space for any mutually exchanged intelligence on possible subversive and critical elements that might be perfecting plans to disrupt the electoral process. The NCP Nigeria will collaborate with National Intelligence Agency, NIA, in this regard. Fourth, election security. In anticipation of possible violence, which most often follow the process and final declaration of result at various levels, the force has in place adequate intelligence and operational arrangement with a view to projecting, anticipating, and promptly dealing with such possibilities, should they emerge. The plan is to prevent such localized actions from snowballing into a national security threat. In furtherance to this, the election security deployment framework will remain in place well ahead of the conduct and announcement of election results. Professional standards enforcement framework. To ensure that police personnel and other security agencies to be deployed for the election have a clear knowledge of their roles and operate within the acceptable legal and ethical standards, we have compiled and printed a revised standard operational guidelines / rules for police officers and other law enforcement agents on election security duties. The handbook has been mass-produced and distributed to all police personnel, with copies shared with the military, DSS, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense, and all other security agencies that are going to participate in law enforcement processes and professional standards expected of them in line with their election security operations. Challenges. Much as the Nigerian Police has perfected plans to engender a peaceful electoral process, the following have been identified as possible challenges. 1. Continuous and targeted attacks on INEC facilities by subversive, anti-democratic elements. 2. Activities of terrorists, bandits, and secessionists and self-actualization elements. 3. Patronage and deployment of subnational quasi-security outfits by state actors to advance political interests in violation of the Electoral Act. 4. Political thuggery, inter-party crisis and inter-party crisis and intra-party violence. 5. Hate speeches, political intolerance, and extremism, as well as anti-democratic conduct of some state governors and other strategic political actors which could inflame the political space. 6. Funding. Timely release of funds as approved by Mr. President. 7. The fuel situation in the country. 8. The issue of Naira swap. Way forward. To mitigate these threats, the force will maintain the tempo in the ongoing special operations across the country with intent to sustain the current relatively stable internal security order, particularly in troubled areas in the northeast, southeast, etc. 2. Deepen intelligence activities to proactively respond to threats wherever it may occur. 3. Continue to synergize with the military, the intelligence community, and all other security agencies towards presenting a common front in the election security governance plan. Conclusion. It is my belief and conviction that the Nigerian military, the Nigerian Police, and all other security agencies will collectively collaborate, synergize, and cooperate in policing the 2023 general election in order to ensure that a free, fair, and credible election takes place in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the IGP, for sparing some time from your busy schedule. Quickly, we'll go into the question and answer session, and maybe we'll just take 2 sessions. Stephen, number 1. Number 2, Choji. Number 3, Felix. Number 4, Dr. Leon.
Good morning, IGP. My name is Stephen Ambulu. I write for the Punch newspapers. We've seen cases of violence across the country. In fact, on the cover of my newspaper this morning was splattered pictures of violence on critical infrastructure like banks, police stations, even some police vans have been destroyed. I wouldn't ask what are you doing to address this, because I know you're already doing something. But how would you be able to contain this post-election, like you said earlier, about after the announcement of results and all that? How would you be able to contain the continuance of such incidences? Thank you.
IG sir, my name is Timothy Choji. I report for Voice of Nigeria. I would like to take us back to the election itself. During the election, what are you doing to ensure that men you deploy are actually there at their duty posts and not turn away their eyes and maybe being compromised by desperate politicians? Thank you.
IG, my name is Felix Onwa, and I'm from Reuters World News Agency. I would like to know some of those special security arrangements being made in southeast and southwest and northwest to ensure that voters come out safely and exercise their voting rights and live safely as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The IG sir, my name is Dr. Leon of the Nigerian Tribune. So you have mentioned some threats to the upcoming exercise, particularly the availability of cash and petrol. Of course, these are, two major challenges being faced by, almost everybody in the country. But I want to know, what are you discussing with the CBN, in terms of making cash available for not just the police, but the entire security architects that will be involved in the exercise? And again, in the same way, what are you hearing from the NNPC or those who are supposed to make fuel available so that we may have a H3 exercise? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. One is violence across the country, and what are we planning to specifically do? Could there be any post-election violence? I think that's the question. Well, like I said earlier, election security is always before, during, and after. The one after is normally what can be referred to as post-election. Well, I believe our operation plan extends beyond announcement of results. And that is why we are expecting that there might be, or if there is any reaction after the announcement of election, then the situation will be frontally confronted based on how it presents itself. The use of minimum force to bring down the situation will be employed. And for that purpose, we are ever ready. Secondly, the man from base of Nigeria, men deployed. How do we ensure they do not compromise or they do not leave their places of work? One or two things that we are doing toward that is to ensure that their welfare is taken care of in terms of payment of allowances. We also intensify the level of supervision. Senior officers are deployed by name to ensure that men under their supervision behave accordingly, and they have the duty to supervise and ensure that men do their job very well. And that is also another reason why we also decided to undertake all the trainings, courses, and the meetings that we've been doing with our personnel and other security agencies. And lastly, we have also produced a small pamphlet where duties and responsibilities of officers deployed for such purposes are clearly stated for them to act according to the book, or according to the rules and regulations that are stated in the book. These are measures to ensure that our men do their best in terms of providing security for the election. 3, you want to know, Mr. Felix, you want to know our special arrangement as far as Southeast and Southwest is concerned. Okay, Southeast and the Northwest. Anyway, strategies are not things that I can come and tell you how, but we are prepared to confront, could there be any situation that will need special intervention. We have arrangement for such, from the simplest way of dispersing rioters to the violent way of confronting rioters that are violent and destructive. Tribune, you are talking about the threats I have mentioned as it relates to cash and petrol. We believe and we are very sure that this situation will stabilize both in terms of availability of cash and petrol before the 2023 general election commences. Thank you very much.
My name is Andre Nainga from Silverbird Television. So my concern has to do with communities where police facilities have been burnt. I was speaking with a gentleman last week, and what he told me was that in his community particularly, there are no police stations anymore because of the attacks and all. So my concern is, how do you police such places, given the fact that there are complaints from these community members that sometimes when they come across police officers and other security agencies, there's a bit of extreme force, or sometimes there's just suspicion that they may be members of a particular militia and all of that. So how are you effectively policing such communities? Thank you.
Good morning, IGP, sir. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for the work you and your men do. But, sir, may I ask you, during your presentation, you mentioned that you have carried out the security threat analysis to the election across the 36 states and the FCT. And I wonder if there are any red zones, which are the areas or states with the highest threats in this election, if you can tell us that. Also, sir, the Naira swap and the vandalism we have seen across the country, one would have thought that, the reaction should have been proactive, but at the moment it looks reactive because we saw it first in a state in the southwest, and then it's spreading. Yesterday we saw in Benin City, Edo State. So what are you doing to ensure that banks are safe, the bankers can work, and Nigerians can get the cash? Thank you.
IGP sir, my name is John Bosco Abakuru, I write for Vanguard. Sir, I want to find out what is the police doing in respect of the threats by one Simon Ekpa or so, who is in Finland, threatening to deal with any government official, INEC official, or anybody that comes out during election in Southeast, even though when the so-called leader of IPOB leader has told people there that they should go out to vote. Secondly, sir, you've held trainings with your officers. But there is a school of thought that believes that the crisis in Imo State this period is caused by the police. That the police collected a result INEC said it didn't manage from them and tendered it. That's what's up.
Take it again. I didn't hear you very well.
I said there is a school of thought, sir, that believes that the crisis in Southeast, especially in Imo State today, is contributed by the police. That the police officer, senior police officer, collected a result INEC disowned and tendered it to courts.
Is it in the past or?
Yes, 2019. What I'm trying to ask, now in this situation, what actually are you going to do with any police officer that is maybe found culpable of anything that you have read out, that they should not do? Thank you.
Wait, did you go to the tribunal?
IG sir, my name is Ubala Musa, and I report for Deutsche Welle.
I didn't hear you, please.
My name is Ubala Musa, and I report for Deutsche Welle Radio. IGP, my concern has to do this one.
Deutsche
IGP,
Welle.
my concern has to do with the issue of prosecuting electoral offenders. Police have been accused of not doing so in the past. No record of people going to jail because of election. Why do you think those who are going to commit electoral offenses this time around have any cause to fear you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, it's like you are saying, the first question borders on the issue of presence of police in some of the areas that our facilities have been burnt or destroyed. Yes, we are aware of that, and we have made adequate arrangement to make our presence in those areas in a lot of ways. First, we have enjoyed a lot of goodies through the police reform agenda, that we've been able to have temporary tents that can be used as houses and offices, kitchens, toilets, and so forth, many of which we have received, and we are mounting them in those areas to provide the needed welfare for our men to exercise their duties. Secondly, threats. Yeah, there are red zones which are supposed to be known to us to police adequately. It is not proper for me to come out and say these places are red zones, but it's known to us in our threat analysis. And we are making effort to proactively police those red areas. As for the proactive or reactive approach to the issue of Naira swap and so forth, yeah, the two are going hand in hand. Proactive and reactive reactions are being done, in the sense that proactively we've been trying to always, not when there is Naira swap or there is petrol scarcity. It is something that we do it day in, day out to prevent and detect crime or possible breakdown of law and order. And to that reason, or for that reason, we've been proactively involved. And where the proactive activity do not work, it is when that is when you see the reactive. And the reactive has to come in where the proactive issue fails. Or when you are prepared proactively, then you have to wait until that threat manifests itself in reality before you can take action. In fact, the reactions that are being undertaken in various places are not something that even in the media you can sit down and look at. When you look at the situation, certainly when there is, people might react. But it all depends upon how people can react. We know the situation has made people life a little bit difficult, or it has made life difficult, and therefore there must be reaction. And the reaction is what we are seeing now. The immediate solution, like I said, is to ensure that the implementation process, which has been discovered to be problematic, be looked into and quickly solutions provided. That will bring down whatever tension that we have within the quickest possible means. Thirdly, like you said, Simon is talking from somewhere in Finland. And there are a lot of protocols as it affects this kind of crime. And I'm sure our foreign ministry and the NIA are looking into these issues to see how it can be taken care of. But for us here is to change the narrative by also pushing out that what he is saying is not something that to be adhered to or to be looked into positively. It can be seen as an incitement, it can be seen as an work of somebody who wants to destabilize the nation and so forth. So I think other ministries and parastatals that are involved in looking at these issues and making Nigerians to know that what is supposed to be done is to be done in that way, is looking into that issue. Particularly the Ministry of maybe Information is also sending out messages countering what Mr. Simon is saying from Finland. Training, the school of thought you are talking about is an allegation. It has not been confirmed that that was not what the police did. If you go back to the tribunal, or if you go back to how the election result finally emerged, you will find out that police was also part of those who gave evidence of what they have really known about what had happened or what transpired. So there is no court of judgment, or there is no body that had confirmed that that allegation was true. It is an allegation. It remains, as far as I'm concerned, it's false allegation. Police, what was the last from Deutsche Welle? Electoral offenders. You see, the Electoral Act 2022 as amended give us the latitude to investigate, but it didn't give us the latitude to prosecute. So what we do is the electoral offenses are investigated and suspects identified, and case diaries accordingly forwarded to INEC for the prosecution section to charge or file charges so that we can be called to go and give evidence as to what we have seen. I know we have done much in terms of investigation, but maybe the prosecution is very slow or it has not been done much. In some instances, the cases are still being looked into. In some instances, charges have been filed, but the cases have not been concluded in terms of awarding punishment also. That is why you are looking at it as if nothing has happened. But as far as we are concerned, we have done our bit of investigating and forwarding the case diary for INEC to proceed with the prosecution. Thank you. I fear glorious questions.
Thank you. My name is Tony Ilemen, sir. I write for Business Day. Sir, previous elections, we saw instructions to VIPs and VVIPs on the particular days of election restricting their movement. Up until now, we have not heard anything in that respect concerning the arrangement for 2023 elections. I don't know what the police has in terms of ensuring that abuse of power and the use of security agencies to intimidate people at polling units are curtailed by ensuring that VVIPs are not allowed, their movements are restricted, and of course, they are not allowed to use their aids to create or foment troubles at polling units, sir. So we just want to have your views on what you have in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name is Gloria Omezuke from Channels TV. So I just wanted to quickly clarify. You said that your intelligence arm is going to monitor and apprehend vote buyers, so to speak. So, and also I know that the police is sort of synonymous with bribery, the challenge of bribery and corruption. So how are you going to...
Sorry, I didn't hear you. The American English.
All right. So I said that the police, whenever you mention the police in Nigeria, it's sort of synonymous with the challenge of bribery and corruption. And also, in the same breath, you're telling us that you're going to have an intelligence arm that will monitor and apprehend vote buyers. So how are we supposed to marry these two? How confident do you think we will be, towards the police in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you very much for... I just didn't mention the issue of VIP's movements with security agents and other things because I believe it is a notorious fact that on election days, VIPs are not to be escorted to polling stations or collection centers. And VIP, like any other person, is supposed to be, restriction of movement is supposed to be for all, except for those who want to go and exercise their franchise. Our belief, our directives to our personnel is that all those who are on essential duty during election are supposed to be people accredited to move around either by INEC, and if it is even the security agents, we produce tag for ourselves. The police has undertaken to provide its personnel and that of other security agencies with election tags. So also the military are also doing to identify, because not even the identification, but there are even abuses in terms of fake this and fake that. So all those who are not accredited to move around will not be allowed to move around, and the restriction of movement for those who are it's only for those who are moving around to exercise their vote, because there is this instance of people moving around from their houses to maybe some distance where their voting points are and so forth. But we believe we have already sensitized our personnel and all other security agencies that they will not be used to intimidate other voters. And that is why we are not even deploying armed security personnel in polling stations. And that is that for the first question. The second question, even if police is synonymous with bribery, I have also mentioned other agencies that will be in lookout. If the police compromise because they are very corrupt, but I think the IPC, which you have not mentioned, the EFCC and other agencies can checkmate the issue of vote buying. But we believe that it's not everybody in the police that is corrupt, and we have done much in sensitizing our personnel to look at this assignment as a national call for duty and ensure that they do the right thing. Thank you.
On behalf of the Presidential Communications team, I would like to commend and congratulate the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, for a very comprehensive presentation on the preparations by the police for the oncoming elections. And I must also commend him for giving the nation, through you, reporters, a sense of security and assurances as we approach the elections. The administration of Muhammadu Buhari has accomplished a lot of things in so many fields, but certainly it is in the area of security, given the challenges that we face, that this president has delivered the most. And obviously this cannot have happened without solid, professional and competent support that the Nigerian police gives to the administration. We thank you for this, IG. Let me also thank members of your delegation for supporting you. DIG operations, Adeyanka Adeleke.
Just 2 days in the office.
2 days. Congratulations. Yes, sir. AIG Federal Operations, Balachiroma. This was FCT Commissioner of Police before he got the raise. AIG Counterterrorism Unit, Amechi Elumelu. That's in there. And our good friend and neighbor, Muiwa.
The AIG Mobile Police Force.
Okay, he has just come.
Special protection unit.
Please, we recognize you for being with us to support the IG. We haven't received the list, but we acknowledge your presence and we thank you for being here. Let me also thank my good neighbor here and in the office, AIG and Senior Special Assistant to the President, Kayode Aderonti, for the good work he's doing on police reforms. Again, my other colleague and neighbor, Oge Modi, who is chiefly coordinating this program. And Uche Ozruma, our other colleague, also in the Presidential Communications team. I thank Abiodun for anchoring, Director of Media in the office, and other media office staff. And to also thank, as we have always done, all of you members of the media for being here in good numbers and for reporting accurately all of the times things that have been rendered here. The police have given us what they intend to do, how they hope to tackle these elections. I think this is the key and the major message for the day. The reassurance is necessary so that our people will come out in their numbers to vote. When they are scared or when they are wrongly informed about the security, they won't come. And we all know it that the International Code of Practice for all of us as journalists instructs that we must defend human rights, we must defend rule of law, and we must defend democracy as a system of government. We have a duty to do this, and it is supporting institutions such as the police that will help us to achieve all of these things. Thank you very much, and we count on you to render a very accurate and very positive presentation of what the IG has given us today. Thank you, and have a pleasant day. Thank you. I mean, yes, I thought he was going to